Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 3 of the card making countdown, where I'm sharing 14 new card making projects with you every day for 14 days. Today's project are these fun string art toppers that you can use on any kind of greetings card you want to add them to. I've included lots of different designs, all with different shapes and different amounts of detail around the edges. Wind string, wool or something similar around the edges to make custom card toppers that you can then add a sentiment, a picture or whatever you want in the middle, or just use them as they are for a wonderfully abstract card design. Let's get started. This project is part of the 2026 card making countdown. Download the cut files for free for the first 24 hours after this video goes live using the links in the video description or by visiting craftwithsarah.com/cards26. After 24 hours, the cut files for this project can be purchased from craftwithsarah.com/cards26 files. Or get the entire card making countdown plus loads of extra bonus files from craftwithsarah.com/cards26 bundle. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into your cutting machine software. For instructions on how to do this, visit craftwithsarah.com/help and choose Cricut, Silhouette or Scan and Cut. Within there are dedicated help guides on topics such as how to upload SVGs, how to modify them to make custom projects, framing tips, and how to cut cardstock with your type of machine. If you have any questions, email hello@craftwithsarah.com. Now, on with today's project. The download for today's project contains a whole bunch of different shapes for making your string art toppers. This is just a small sample. I'm going to be using embroidery thread, the type that you would use for cross stitch, for my demos and also for the card, but you can use any kind of string or thread or thin wool, anything else that you've got that's similar. You'll also need some sticky tape to hold the thread on the back. First up in this video, I'll show how to make the toppers, including the different effects that you can make, and then we'll go through turning them into a greetings card. And then what you can do if you don't have any thread and you just want to use the shapes to make a card without the string. This is what the SVG looks like loaded into Cricut Design Space. As you can see, there are lots and lots of topper shapes for you to choose from. If you click and then ungroup the layers with the ungroup button over here, that will separate them all out for you so you can choose which ones you want to make. Most of them are sized at 3 by 3 inches. Although the ovals are a little bit different, but you can make them bigger or smaller, it's completely up to you. I'm going to choose a few different ones. I'll resize them to 4 by 4 inches so they're a little bigger for you to see when I'm putting them together, and then we'll take a look at how they work with the string. Here are my demo shapes all cut out, and I thought what would be nice would be if I kind of did a couple with different ways of putting the string around them so you can see the different effects that can be achieved. So we'll start up with this one, not for any particular reason. I've got my thread, turn it upside down, get a little bit of sticky tape and secure that in the middle. I've chosen a purple thread just because it stands out well against the yellow so you can see it better. And then just start on one of the corners and choose how many pieces you want to skip. The more you do, the easier it is. And what we do then is we'd round to the next one and then go one more that side and then go there. And then keep winding it round. Each time you're moving on one more on all of the points. I've skipped loads on this one. This is where my thread is gonna knot. So this is the kind of effect you get if you miss quite a lot, which is what I've done here. And you keep going. Well, you don't have to. You can stop whenever you want to. And then eventually you'll start crossing them over for a second time. as we build up the whole way round. And my thread has now definitely got caught. Okay, I've untangled that now. Where was I? So that one, it's a bit confusing if you have to stop and then come back to it to find out where you were. But I've got it, I think. Okay, I'm going to keep going round. If it starts bowing, just bend it out a little bit. Keep going round until all of your little shapes around the edge have got 2 bits of thread coming out of them, which I've now done, so I've met that. So I know now I'm not going to go to the next one because that's already got that line, so I don't need to do it again. And that is very pretty. It looks like a sunflower. Then add a bit more tape on the back to secure your thread. And that's how that topper has ended up. Let's try it slightly differently this time. Add the tape on the back. And this time I'll miss a few less so that you can see the difference. It's harder when you haven't missed as many because the thread is easier to sort of come unhooked as you're going round. This is the same template shape, but I'm missing out far fewer of these little spiky bits as I'm going round. You can see it's fighting against me. It's trying to come undone as I go round because I haven't missed as many. Pulling it tight each time. And that definitely helps. I find it easier to sort of rotate it round a little bit every few goes. I am notoriously bad at anything that needs thread or ribbons or anything complicated. I think I've come to the end actually. I think that's it. It is. Okay. Tape that one down. Here's how it makes 2 different things. It's the same template shape, but by missing a different number of the spikes, you end up with a completely different effect. If you find, like mine, that it's not looking very neat, after you've done your tape down, you can pull the string with your fingers down into the very points of the shape. That helps hold it in place and also makes it look a bit neater because you're joining up the thread on all of those bits. If you haven't pulled your thread very tight and you're worried that it's going to come off, then just add a little bit of tape to it along the back. As you pull it down into these corners, it helps pull it tight as well. That might be all it needs. Back to the beginning now. That looks a little neater now that I've joined up all those corners. You don't have to go around the whole thing like I've done on them. You can do it all from one corner to everything else. We'll do that on this square. For instance, I could get this bottom corner and then join that to all of the top ones. You can do whatever takes your fancy with joining all the bits together. If you don't like it, you can just unpick it all before you stick the back down and try again with something different. Just had a little bit of thread to untangle. There we go, that's all of them. And that's ended up with a different vibe entirely. You could do it again from that corner and have them cross over. You could maybe even do it in a different colour and see how that looks with several colours on there. You can also cross directly over, and it depends a little bit on which template you're doing because they have to have a corresponding one straight over for this to work. This time I've got some wool to add to the back. See. So I could go vertically over and cross over each time. And then this time, instead of continuing on, to have 2 bits of thread coming out from each of the points, I'm just going to leave it as 1. So rather than doubling up to make that kind of star look, we'll keep it like that. This is the wool I was using. I bought it about 10 years ago for a project that I was sure I was going to make and then never did. So it's been in a drawer since then. And there's what we've got going on so far. Here's an example of that same one as these, just cut a bit smaller with the wool. You can see because of the different colours in the wool, you end up with different colours around the edge. And then finally, as one more example, on this one, I used the wool again. I crossed all of the little edges horizontally, and then after that, did them vertically instead to make up a grid. Now that you've seen some examples of the stringer on the toppers, let's turn them into a greetings card in Cricut Design Space. Let's turn one of these toppers into a card. I'm going to go for this one. So we can delete all the others and we're left with this. I'll make a 5 by 7 inch card. So we'll go into shapes and choose a square and make a base card to start with. Go into size and click the padlock so that you open it up so you can type different heights. My width will be 10 inches and the height 7, so that when that's folded in half, it will be a 5 by 7 inch card. I've got a butterfly pattern paper that I want to use on my card, which is a deep blue with some light blue and pink butterflies on it. So a light blue would work nicely for the base card. If you've got a Cricut scoring wheel or stylus, add a score line to the middle. Go into shapes and choose a score line. And then set the height to the height of your card. Mine is 7. Drag a box around the score line and the base card and press align, and then align it vertically and horizontally to put it exactly in the middle. With those 2 layers still selected, press attach. Attach is what tells the Cricut to do the scoring in that exact place. And then we can click on the topper and go arrange forward or to front to bring it in front of the card. I think we can get away with making it a bit bigger. And then I want my pattern paper to come up about halfway up the card. To do that, add another square, and it'll be 5 inches, the same as my card. And roughly line it up. It doesn't have to be 100%. Decide how far you want it to go. Maybe a little bit more. Although I think my topper could still be bigger, perhaps 4 by 4 inches to fill that space nicely. So what I'm going to do is cut this from pattern paper. I like to make it a really bright colour if I'm using pattern paper, even though that's not the colours on my paper, just so it reminds me when I'm cutting it out, bright colour equals pattern paper. And then I'll match this to the sort of salmon pinky colour that my butterflies are on my pattern paper. You can make your cards however you want to, but I thought it might be helpful for you to see a quick example of how these toppers can be turned into a card using other items you might already have in your craft stash. I'm going to add a sentiment to the bottom using one of the drawn designs from yesterday's Craft Countdown project. I've got the Just For You sentiment. You could also type something out. You don't have to do it with pens either. You could do something drawn or printed, or you could use stickers, whatever you want. And change it to pen. And I think, because this is going to be quite big, I could get away with doing it in the marker pen. And then this is now a little recap of yesterday where we were making sentiment toppers. I'll put a square behind it in white so that the text can be seen. If I'm going a little quickly on this step, head back and watch yesterday's video and we'll align that. And then it doesn't quite look in the middle, even though technically it is because of that big bit on the J. So I'll nudge it over and then attach them together. Then it will do the drawing on that rectangle. Make another rectangle in my salmony pink colour. It looks nicer than that on my pattern paper. I've chosen quite a nasty sort of pink colour on the screen. I could line this up nicely by typing in numbers, but I'm going to do it by eye to get a fairly even border around that. And a little smaller. And there's my sentiment. And it can just be as simple as that. It looks simple on the screen, but by the time it's all cut out and you've added your string to the topper, you've got all your pretty pattern papers, it won't look simple at all. When you're ready to cut out, connect to your machine up here and then press make. That will separate out all the colours, and now at this point you can check that all your attaching is right too. So I've got my text on that rectangle, and if you want to, you can change the paper size in the drop down here, and then you can click and drag to move things about to take up less space on your cardstock. Just make sure when you do that nothing overlaps, otherwise it won't cut out properly. I'm not going to rotate this rectangle because this is my pattern paper one, and I want to make sure my pattern is the correct way up once it's cut. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press continue and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut with your Cricut. Here are the pieces of my card ready to be assembled. I've glued the sentiment onto its backer, and I've already completed the string art for this one. I've used two colours. So first off, I used the dark blue, and I left quite a lot of little spikes between each one so that it made this nice circle design. And then I went round again with a different colour, the pink, and I missed a lot fewer of the spikes each time. And that means the circle comes out a lot closer to the edge, so you get that lovely jewel effect on there. I added a butterfly sticker in the middle, which matches nicely with my pattern paper. We can glue the pattern paper to the bottom. Then for a bit of shine, I'm going to add a peel off sticker from my craft stash along the join. I love using these in card making projects. They're really simple, but they add so much and they're really easy to use. If you don't have any peel off stickers, well, let's just say that you might want to keep watching the card making countdown videos as we go through, because I might have a little bit of a solution for you. You'll have to wait a few days to find out what that is though. Stuck that down on there and trim off the excess. See how much more special that looks with that gold trim along the top. Very nice. And then I've got my topper and my sentiment. Both of these I'll pop out with some foam squares. There we go. And then for the topper, I'm only going to add my foam squares in the middle bit because it's already a lot taller from all of the thread on the back. So if I was to put foam on here, it would end up too tall along the edge, and I also don't think it would stick very well to all that thread. This is heavy with the thread, which is why I'm adding quite a lot of foam squares to here. Then this will go in the middle, as close to the middle as I can get it. On there, push down, get all those foam squares well stuck. And there's my card with all that lovely string art on there. I'm really happy with how that turned out. It's simple, it's quick to make, but it looks so striking and unusual, and it's a lot of fun and a great way to use up your embroidery thread if you've got some that's been sitting in a drawer for years and years like me and never used. But what if you don't have any embroidery thread? Well, don't worry, you can still use these toppers to make cards without using the thread on them. Here's an example. So on this, I've used one of the shapes from the SVG, and I've duplicated it and made it a bit bigger each time so that we end up with 3. And then I've made a cute little print then cut image in the middle, put it on some pattern paper with a few extra layers and some flower embellishments. No thread at all on this one, but still a very, very pretty card. Let's find out how to make this in Cricut Design Space. Here's the start of my card that I'll be making without adding any string to the toppers. I've got a base card. This time I'm making a 5.75 inch square card, which is the largest square card you can make from 12 by 12 paper on a Cricut. So my height is 5.75, my width is double that, which is 11.5, and I've added a score line down the middle. I've then added 2 squares on top, one in this aqua colour, and this is 5.5 inches, and then a smaller one in lime green, which is 5.2. This one I'll cut from pattern paper, so I've made it a bright colour again. I chose pink on the last card, green on this card, no particular reason why it's different. I've got this cute little panda image which I downloaded from creativefabrica.com. I'll drop the link to get the panda design in the description of this video and also in the written version of the tutorial for if you'd like to follow along exactly. And this is the topper I'll be using. I've already had a look through my pattern paper with this panda image in mind to see what I could use. So I know the pattern paper I'm going to use on this green square, which means I can set my colours as I go to match that pattern paper. If you're not sure what colours or patterns you'll be using yet, just choose random colours for now and you can change it at the end. Here's my topper. If you're moving it about and it's showing underneath your card, you can go arrange to front to put it on the top. I'm going to layer these up in several different colours that match my pattern paper. I want the first one to be fairly big, but not so big that it means I can't see any of that nice pattern. So that's the first one, and then we'll make a copy. Make this one a little bit smaller and put that in the middle, and one more that's a little bit smaller too, so I'm taking ½ inch off each time. It will end up looking like that. And then looking at my paper, I think I'll match that to the border around the pattern paper. And I'm using a bunting design with lots of pastel colours on it, so I've got a lot to choose from. I'm thinking a yellow, pale yellow, because that matches in nicely with the present that the panda is holding, and a dusky pink like his feet, and that pink colour also is present on the pattern paper. And then the panda to go in the middle. At the minute, this wouldn't be very good to print and cut because the edges around his fur are really, really thin and the Cricut would struggle to cut out that level of detail. What I'll do to make it easier is to merge this with a circle shape in the middle of my toppers. Go into shapes and choose a circle and make it white. You can make it a colour if you want, but I'm going to have a white circle in the middle so that my panda stands out. And let's try 3 inches. Slightly smaller. I like that it kind of looks like a flower. And then my panda will go in the middle. I don't want any of him overlapping that circle. I'll select the panda and the circle and press align vertical and horizontal. But I will nudge him up a bit because even though that's technically in the middle, it looks like it's closer to the bottom because of all the space around the party hat. So let's nudge that up a bit. Now at the minute, the Cricut would cut this circle from white card and still try and print and cut the panda on its own. I need to merge the panda to the circle. To do that, select both of those layers. So I clicked one, press Shift on my keyboard and chose the other, and then press Flatten. Flatten merges multiple layers into a single print and cut image. So when I press that, it means now the Cricut will print this and then it will cut the perfect circle around the edge of my photo paper rather than trying to cut out all the little details on the panda himself. And that's it for my card, so now it is ready to be cut out. If you're new to print and cut with your Cricut and you'd like a helping hand to guide you through the process, check out the schedule page for this card making countdown and look in the Foundation Learning section near the top of the page. In there is a link to a separate tutorial and video on how to print and cut with a Cricut. You can also find the link to that tutorial in the written tutorial for this project, again near the top of the page. I've started putting my card together. I have all the bits cut out and I've glued my backing square and my pattern paper onto the base card. And I've also glued all of the layers of my card together here, my print and cut in the middle, and then the 3 layers of the shapes. I had a little bit of an issue with my Cricut tearing the cardstock on this bit, but I'm going to do my sneaky trick that I love of covering little mistakes with a pretty sticker. I want this to come out a little bit from the front of the card for some dimension, so I'll add some foam squares on the back. Then it can go right in the middle of my card. I'm really bad at lining things up. That looks fairly central. And then you can embellish it however you want. I just need something to cover up that little bit there where it didn't cut well. I've got this sheet of stickers that I've had for probably years and never used, but I thought the colours matched quite nicely with what's in the design. Let's choose, I think, this one. Oh, these are very well stuck. And then if I put that over that ripped bit, then you would never know. Might do one more up in this corner too, just to match it a little. Flower on its own. Do I want it on the background or on there? There. That finishes it off nicely, adds a little bit of extra interest to the card and hides my mistakes. And that's my version of the card without adding the string, but they still look absolutely lovely on the front of a card. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make string art toppers with your Cricut machine and some thread or some wool. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free SVGs. I hope to see you again tomorrow for day 4 of the card making countdown, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!